Y'all, it's that time again. It's Math with Mrs. Peters, the crazy cat lady of Hiram High School. And today's topic is talking about making equivalent fractions. All right? Equivalent fractions are fractions that mean the same thing but look different. For example, 2/3 is the same thing as 10/15 because 10/15 is really 2 times 5 over 3 times 5. And same thing as 20 over 30 because this is 2 times 10 and 3 times 10. So they have a common factor, and this is a version of 1, and that means that's something we're going to use, this idea of equivalent fractions, to help us with some equivalent expressions, rational expressions. Okay? So I want to find the equivalent fraction to 2/3 that has a denominator of 6x. Now, I need to ask the question, what do I do to 3? What do I multiply 3 by in order to turn it into 6x? Well, I'm going to multiply by 2x. And if you look back up here, remember I circled this, the 10 and the 5? This is a version of the magic number 1. It's a funny form of 1. Okay? Anything over itself is equal to 1, and then when I multiply by 1, I'm not changing anything. Okay? So that's what I'm doing here. So I'm going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same thing. Right? See? 2x over 2x. And now I'm going to do my multiplying. So 3 times 2x is 6x. 2 times 2x is 4x. So now this is my equivalent fraction. And for the rest of this lesson, we're going to be using the concept of least common denominator between two or more fractions or two or more equivalent expressions in order to find the piece that we want. So factoring is going to be a big deal. Right? So we're going to use the least common denominator for the given fractions. And I've got two fractions here. I have 4x over 6, and I have x minus 6 over 2 times x plus 2. Right? Now I want the least common denominator. The least common denominator in this case is 3 times 2 times x plus 2. Now, if you don't see that, it doesn't come to you easily, don't worry. Just go back to the lesson on finding least common denominators and practice it a little bit more. Now, what you have to do is you have to say, okay, what am I going to multiply 6 by, because it's in the denominator, to make it turn into the least common denominator. Okay, and what we multiply 6 by is cx plus 2. So I'm going to put x plus 2 in both places. Right? Now, you know how I like to write everything all together, so this is going to be x plus 2 here. Now, I'm going to leave the denominator in its factored form. I'm not going to multiply the denominator ever together. I'm going to leave it in its factored form. But I am going to multiply the numerator. So I get 4x squared plus 8x. Now let's go back and do the bottom one down here. Let's extend the page a little bit. All right, what do you do to 2x times x plus 2 to make it turn into 6 times x plus 2? Well, I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. All right, again, I'm going to leave the denominator pretty much alone. Okay, I could have written this denominator this way if I wanted to. Okay, now I am going to multiply the numerator, which gives me 3x minus 18. So let's do another one. Using the least common denominator for the given fractions, make the equivalent fractions. Okay, well, I'm going to factor my denominator, 3 times x minus 2, and then I have 2 times x, and I notice that my least common denominator is all the factors, so that's 2 times 3 times x minus 2. Right? Again, I'm going to look at what do I have to do to 3x minus 6 to turn it into my least common denominator, or what's missing from it, and what's missing is 2x. So again, I'm going to leave the denominator in its factored form. Okay, I could leave it like that, or I could just write the least common denominator, and I'm going to multiply the numerators. Okay, this is leading us into adding and subtracting, guys. I'm serious. All right, now what do I do to 2x to make it into our least common denominator? Well, I've got to multiply it by 3 and then by x minus 2. So that has to happen here also. Okay, leave my denominator in its factored form. Okay, do the multiplication of the numerator. So that would give me what? I like it. 9x times x minus 2. So this would be 9x squared minus 18x. And that one's completed. Alright, losing the least common denominator for the given fractions, make the equivalent fractions. Now I'm going to help you out real guys. I'm going to just go ahead, I'm not going to factor these denominators. I'm going to go ahead and just write the least common denominator because that is something we've already taught in the previous lesson. If you need help, you can go back and look at it. Alright, so what do I need to do? What do I need to multiply both sides of my fraction to in order to get the least common, to get everything, get my equivalent fractions? Let's see. I need to multiply by r plus 2. So I get here 6r plus, oops, excuse me, not 6r, 3r plus 6. Yeah, 3r plus 6. There we go. Let's look at the last one. What do I need to multiply by? Well, I need to multiply by, oh my, 5r times r plus, 5r, ugh, guys, I'm getting tired. I gotta multiply by 5r times 5r plus 3. Okay? So, let's see. Multiply my numerator. Well, that's 30r squared times 5r plus 3. So this gives me 150r cubed plus 90r squared. Let's make that cube look more like a cube. Right. This is how you make least common or equivalent fractions using the least common denominator. This is a skill you're going to have to practice, and it is on the first step or the second step towards adding and subtracting rational expressions. If you have any questions, write them down, bring them to class or to tutoring. I'll be happy to answer them. Y'all take care now. Bye-bye.